It's HBCU Game Day. What's happening, everyone? I'm Tali Carr, Atlanta Studios. Let's welcome in, fresh off of the trip from San Antonio, an HBCU All-Star Weekend. You saw her on Peacock. You saw her on the CW. Simone Stanley. What's up, Simone?
What's up? It's great to be back in Atlanta.
All right, Final Four weekend, you were there. What was the vibe?
It was great, especially, obviously, the HBCU All-Star Game. This was my first time going. The atmosphere was great DJ. The players, they were playing like, they were hooping. Some All-Star games, they have like the stereotype of being all offense. No, this was gritty. Both of the games went down to the final possession. Some great game enders, big buckets to end the game. Great atmosphere. A lot of celebrities out there. Penny Hardaway was at the game.
Was Roscoe Dash there? That's our guy, Roscoe Dash.
Roscoe Dash was at the SWAC tournament. Shout out to Roscoe. No, we didn't get any live performances. We had the Grambling band, so we got that live performance.
World fame. All right.
But it was great. A lot of HBCU royalty, basketball royalty was in the building, so it was a lot of fun. Good food too.
All right, cool deal. Hey, San Antonio, they like to eat there. That's what Barkley says. If I would have told you when you went to the tournament that how many of the coaches? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4?
4 coaches.
4 of the coaches that were a part of HBCU All-Star Weekend would have different jobs or no job the following week. Or transition in between jobs, we'll call it.
I would have said you were crazy, especially the fact that, some at this moment don't have jobs. Obviously, the HBCU All-Star Game brought out some of the best coaches, 2 coaches for each women's game, 2 coaches for each men's. So in total, 8 coaches. So some of the best. So of course, we expect some of them to be in this season with some promotions. So shout out to them. We'll get into it. Some of them right now ending the season without a job, which is a head scratcher. But yeah, the HBCU All-Star Game was really the last chance to see a lot of these coaches repping a particular school. So it's like that flash.
All right, so let's start here. Doug Whitler, Morehouse, this week, he parts ways there. From my understanding, it wasn't a basketball decision. You can look at their record and see that Coach Whitler has been doing his job, and Coach Whitler didn't want to go, is what I have been told, but he's no longer the coach at Morehouse. Luke DeLacio at Fayetteville State. He'd been with the Broncos for 5 years, Simone. 103-52 record. That's 66% of his games. So out of every 3 games they would play, he'd win 2 of them.
I know how percentages work.
Sometimes the math don't be mathing with people. You never know. 5 seasons, 3 CIAA championship appearances, 1 title. He's out of a job at Fayetteville State. New man comes in. Now, the way these things are worded, we have to report how they are worded. It was reported from Fayetteville State directly. It was a mutual parting of the ways. But we saw reports earlier in the week that his contract was not being renewed.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, but he was a winning coach. And Devin Hohen from Bluefield State did a great job there. He is now at Fayetteville State. They made it to the Division II tournament for the first time in 30 years there. So a younger coach with some success, replacing a veteran that had a lot of success.
We were talking before the camera started rolling, in Luke's scenario, like you said, it could have been a money situation. You're winning. You have a lot of experience. Contract coming up. He could have wanted more money than Fayetteville State was willing to offer. Yeah.
Look at my record. I'm going to need a little more.
Right. And you bring in a younger guy. Who we bringing in?
Devin Hohen from Bluefield State.
Yeah. You bring in Devin, a younger guy, like you said. Younger, a little less that you're going to want to pay him.
Simone said, who are we bringing in? This is our show prep. We got 2 pages this week of coaching changes.
Names on the move. But yeah, I feel like the Luke scenario, even though I'm saying Luke, obviously, because I don't want to butcher the man's last name. Coach. You know what I'm saying? Coach Luke. I think his scenario is a little bit more, black and white because, we can see it's a money scenario. However, Doug Whitler
Caught a lot of people by surprise.
I was caught off guard. Like, obviously, me and Tali are in Atlanta. I go to Morehouse a lot, Go to
That's
Clark
where
and
we
Lott.
met. We met at Morehouse.
Yeah, met at Morehouse. And when Doug took over, it was like a huge culture change at Morehouse.
And we must remind people, it was extenuating circumstances. The head coach, Grady Brewer, unfortunately passes away. Longtime coach, had played at Morehouse, had coached there forever. A man that Coach Whitler was close with, so there's a lot of emotional things there. He had to keep the program together. Did a good job. Morehouse has been successful during that stretch. And then the end of the season, or at the conclusion of Final Four weekend, as of this recording right now, we have not heard word about a replacement, but bit of a head scratcher in Atlanta, and I've not been able to get any solid answers as to what happened there.
Yes, and the program has been successful. It seemed like the players buy into Coach Whitler. He's had a lot of young talent that he's had to work with, like true freshmen last season, some true freshmen in the rotation this season, and continuing to compete at a high level in the SIAC, like going deep in the tournament just last year. So it just, I don't know, like this is going to be something where we just going to need answers. Coach Whitler, very nice guy, was just seeing him at the All-Star game.
And there was nothing like, you weren't getting any vibes like,
now,
when I come back to Atlanta, I'm turning in my resignation.
Now, I'm a Virgo, right? So I peep stuff unnecessarily, right? I'm always like thinking.
That's the Virgo superpower.
Yes, I'm thinking too hard about stuff all the time. I'm always filing stuff away. I will say this. Coach Whitler, his vibe was a little down. Like, from my opinion. Now, you could wake up with a headache. Pollen is going crazy. You know what I mean? He could be affected by the pollen. He could have just got some bad news about something else. I did feel like his vibe was low. You know what I mean? I've seen him a lot because I'm in Atlanta. I cover Morehouse a lot. Right. Like, what's up, coach? You know what I mean? He had a low vibe.
We got the email. We got access to the email on Thursday of this week as we're recording. I don't, what's today's date? The
11th.
So we got the email on the 10th of April. When these things come out, have already happened behind the scenes. It's not like you get word that, hey, we're not renewing you, or I resign, or whatever the case is, and then the email, it instantly goes out. These things have usually occurred days before. So not saying that I know, but there's some synchronicity possibly.
And it seemed like a lot of people at that HBCU All-Star game knew a lot of stuff. As we'll get into.
Well, this is the transient time of the year because all the coaches, the ADs are at the Final Four. You get a lot of meetings with people because everyone's there. The coaches associations, they're meeting. So it is a transactional time of year for coaching coming out of that Final Four weekend. But I don't think anyone saw what was coming in the CIAA. You had a change at Fayetteville State, which resulted in a change at Bluefield State, and that's on the men's side. So you got the opening there. We'll see where Coach Luke, where he ends up. He knows what he's doing. He's coached winners at Bowie State. He was an assistant at North Carolina Central, and he has a championship at Fayetteville State, so he knows how to coach basketball. But on the same day, on the women's side, Nadine DeMond from Virginia State, she was the CIAA Coach of the Year on the women's side. Coach Luke was the CIAA Coach of the Year on the men's side, and on the same day, their tenures under different circumstances end on the same day. You're like, what in the world is going on? But the thing with Virginia State, with Coach Nadine there, minutes later, she's announced as the Morgan State head coach.
Yeah, so obviously Coach Nadine moving up to the Division I level, becoming a head coach there. Morgan State's head coach ended up retiring after 33 seasons. They bring in Coach DeMond, who is a great developer of talent. I mean, her players just absolutely respect her to the fullest. She had a few players actually playing in the HBCU All-Star game that she was coaching. That's a great fit. I love Coach Nadine. I mean, she's so fly. I know we talk a lot about
the glasses. It's the glasses.
But it's the fits too. Like, she was fitted. She was fitted at the All-Star game. Caught me off guard because once they took that.
It's not just the glasses. I'm saying that the part I always catch is
because
the
glasses. I mean, if you could style glasses right, it gives you like an edge. It pops you off. But she's definitely going to do a great job at Morgan State. That's a big move. A lot of people were rumored and finalists for that Morgan State job. You know what I mean?
A lot of names had motion.
Of names had motion. That Morgan State job was it was a hot commodity.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Coach Damon. Very well deserving and excited for her.
All right, so more movement on the women's side. Let's go here. Alabama State has a opening, or they did. Jonetta Hayes is the new head coach there. Championship winning coach from Texas Southern. If you want to go back in history, about a decade ago. Frieda Freeman Jackson, the Hall of Famer, she resigned after a lengthy career there at Alabama State. So a former SWAC championship coach lands in the fold at Alabama State. Alabama State had been that team that was right on the heels of Jackson State, but the last couple of years, it just seemed like that program kind of ran out of gas and really not able to be that contender and nipping at the heels of Jackson State like they were. So a chance for some experience and at the same time new blood for the Lady Hornets.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need, just new blood. Coach Frieda, she was, nearing the end of her career. You could start to kind of run out of gas a little bit. She knew it was time. So now you bring in a new fresh blood, you know what I'm saying? Some new fresh leadership, a new fresh voice to the team. So we know Alabama State, they're going to be right back in the combo.
All right, let's stick with the SWAC. We're going to go over to the men's side.
Yeah.
Were you surprised Dante Jackson, who just a year ago took Grambling to the NCAA men's tournament, winning the SWAC, and was very close? They flirted with making it back to the championship game this year after having we'll call it a subpar regular season, but they turned on that tournament magic and entertained us all. But we got the word a week ago that he's taking a job at Alabama A&M after Coach Otis Hughley was not renewed there.
Yeah, I was shocked because, like you said, just so much recent history-making success that Coach Jackson had with Grambling. I know the portal is the portal, so you can't guarantee on anyone coming back. But, there was still a lot of players that still had a lot of eligibility left and experience from that run that could have, came back this season. So I was very surprised. I don't even know, money-wise or whatever.
He talked about the lack of resources between Grambling and A&M. And look, A&M's put some money in the athletic program. They got a brand new facility. The AD there, Paul Bryant, has been very aggressive and progressive. A lot of new hires. He's gotten rid of some people who were there before his tenure, and is really their facilities and their resources one of the better kept secrets, if you will, in the SWAC. A lot of people think about football,
Yeah.
but their basketball programs, they've got the juice.
Yeah, and especially with the women's popping off like they are with Coach Thornton, the men's, they had a lot of talent. The Alabama A&M team, obviously a lot of them hit the portal now, but yeah, it's a lot of potential there at Alabama A&M for Coach Jackson.
Because he can coach.
We know he can coach. We know he can recruit. And we know Alabama A&M, like you said, with the facilities and stuff, they had a lot of talented players these past few years, just wasn't able to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
So we know that, players are attracted to Alabama A&M.
All right, the big one.
We've been waiting on
that
it.
was a surprise, no surprise. Patrick Crary, 1 year at FAMU. He takes a spot at Grambling. When you look back on the 1 year contract, hey, we're going to hire this guy, and we're also going to question his credentials, all the drama. I'm going to assume you weren't surprised, but how would you sum up this whole venture of Patrick Crary at FAMU for a year and now going to Grambling?
It's giving Patrick Crary, that's our boss. Because it's just playing your cards so perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Taking that deal, you know what I mean? Coming from the NIA level, having all that success there, making the jump to Division I, taking that deal, taking what some people can deem as disrespect or doubt and all that, and literally winning a SWAC tournament game for the first time for FAMU, making
making it to the tournament.
And
Did they win a game?
They won a game.
They did?
So first win in the SWAC.
Okay.
They won their opening, their first round game, Prairie View, I believe. They beat.
But they were missing the player of the year because he got hurt. So
And they still won without him.
Yeah.
So first time winning a SWAC game for FAMU. First time making the tournament in a while for FAMU. Just a lot of firsts. And then flipping it into a bag sure he got at Grambling, flipping it to a long-term deal. I mean, shoot, you got to respect it. You know what I mean? That's the huge case of betting on yourself and it paying off. Shout out Coach Crary.
Did FAMU fumble the bag in this case of Coach Crary?
Yeah, you think, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to flip it all on the positive side by just talking about what Coach Crary did. Obviously, FAMU fumbled the bag. Come on now, like.
And you can't put it on the athletic director, the current athletic director. She was not there, and this was a thing that came from the board.
A big transition. It was a
board
lot
of trustees,
of transition going
member, you know, or members put the doubt, the seed of doubt there, question Crary's credentials, and it results in just a 1-year deal. But that really motivated because FAMU. I mean, they didn't win it, but they had a year that they weren't predicted to have. I think they were predicted to finish 11th, right ahead of Valley.
Right.
But late in the season, they were in contention for, you know, a top 3 spot there. Things kind of fell apart a little bit, but ended up with the player of the year.
Newcomer of the year.
Newcomer of the year, led the league in 3-point shooting, a different style. He has that analytical style. They rather take 3s than 2s. And I would say he had success in that 1 year with everything he was, you know, cards he was dealt. I think he did an outstanding job.
Absolutely. And think about how further they might have been in the tournament if they did have the SWAC player of the year in the tournament, and Sterling Young, who couldn't play because he was injured. So, you know, they win a game even without having the player of the year, go to the next game, still be competitive in that. So, shoot. Yeah, I mean, Pratchett Crary, I mean, that's the story right there.
I love the way she said that. Shoot.
But it's just, I knew it. Okay, so I knew Coach Crary was going somewhere.
Because all the players started transferring out.
And the key to me was that when Milton Matthews left, because, I mean, players leave, and that doesn't necessarily mean the coach is going to leave. But Coach Crary and Milton Matthews were like this. They came from their NAIA school together. So why would Milton Matthews come to this is me in my mind. Why would Milton follow Coach Crary? They got this tight relationship. You have so much success with him in that first year. You're the newcomer of the year. You make the jump from NAIA to D1, and you popping in that jump. So then why would you leave right after that, right? So I was like, Coach, something's up. I knew something's up. And I ain't no Grambling. I knew something.
Yeah, you started seeing Shakir O'Neal was one of the names. And I think that speaks to player development. Look, Shakir O'Neal, the son of Shaquille O'Neal, had been in the SWAC. He had been in Texas Southern. Hadn't scored a lot of points. Like, his name, you know, you would bring attention. But he got to FAMU and really broke out and had career numbers at FAMU. I think that speaks to Coach Crary's ability to develop players who, you know, might have had potential and wasn't getting the burn opportunities, or things just weren't, you know, coming to pass where they were. And, you know, he took a guy, and it wasn't about his name at that point. He actually developed that talent, and it came to pass on the court.
Now, who is going to FAMU?
That would be, what does that, here's a better question. How will FAMU handle the next coach?
You mean, how will the next coach handle FAMU?
Well, I would think the coach coming in would have some leverage, because I would think FAMU would want to give this coach as much resources. You know, they want to make it real comfortable. They don't want to mess things up with this coach, because this is now going to be the 3rd coach in the last 3 years. So I would think the next coach coming in has a little more rope to work with in negotiations. I don't think they're going to play hardball like they did with Crary. I would hope
they learn from that. That's tough.
I know who it won't be. It won't be Jake Morton, because he took the job at Alcorn State from Landon Bussey, who went to Chicago State. Jake Morton played at Miami. He was an assistant coach at Coppin and Bowie earlier this century, early 2000s. So a new name, some HBCU ties there. But Alcorn State didn't waste a lot of time.
No, they got right to it. What you want to see, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have a plan in place. Well, I mean, Coach Bussey was gone for a minute now.
Well, on an HBCU scale of how things get done, it wasn't a long time. I've seen it
drag much longer.
Take a while.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the past.
Who else we had?
I think we covered Morehouse. We got Alcorn.
Did we get Norfolk?
Okay, there we go. Look, we got 2 pages of names here. Jermaine Woods leaves Coppin State, comes back home to Norfolk State. He takes the place of Larry Vickers, who went to Auburn. So Jermaine Woods is there. This is going to be an interesting year. Women's basketball continues to be on the rise. But what we saw in HBCU at the Division I level, we saw Jackson State and Norfolk State dominating the 2 main conferences in the SWAC and the MEAC. Jackson State loses to Tamika Reed. She goes to Charlotte. Jackson State kind of comes back to the pack. Coach Richards had a good year, but they didn't go 16-0 in the SWAC. Norfolk State, Coach Vickers had them running through the MEAC. We will see next season, but I think it's going to create the potential for more balance and another opportunity for somebody to rise up and be the queen of the hill.
And that's what we like. We like balance. You know what I mean? Of course, you want to see these teams, dominate and be able to beat, Power 5 schools and go deep in the tournament. But as far as, the regular season and for our own tournaments, like the SWAC tournament, you want competition. You don't want to go in the tournament knowing
Jackson State's going to beat everybody by 40.
Norfolk going to beat everybody. You know what I mean? You want to add some excitement and, have some parity.
There you go. That's the word. The cliche word, parity. Will the respect continue? Because Jackson State and Norfolk State had got the HBCU women's programs out of that. All right, you win the tournament if you want to. Here's the 16 seed. We had moved up 14, as high as 13 maybe. Guys, sometimes I don't remember everything. But I know we had gotten out of that 16, that 14 neighborhood. Will that respect continue?
I think so. Obviously, going to have to keep that momentum up. Going to have to keep, beating these Power 4 schools during the regular season, or at least taking them to the ropes to the end of the game. Definitely have to keep that up. But it is going to be something to monitor because obviously Tamika Reed, Jackson State was balling out of control with Tamika Reed and with Coach Vickers, Norfolk State going crazy. So yeah, definitely have to keep the foot on the gas there. But it will be something to monitor with the new coaches.
All right, before we get out of here on HBCU Game Day, we have 2 pages here, 2 pages of coaching changes. I want you, Simone Stanley, to rate your top 3 most surprising moves out of all these changes we've seen in the last couple of weeks here.
Number 1, Coach Whitler, biggest surprise.
All right.
You know what I mean? It has to be Coach Whitler because a lot of these people are getting promotions. You know what I mean? We might not have seen it coming, but it makes sense to us right now. So definitely Coach Whitler, because we need to know what's up, what's popping, what's the deal. You know what I'm saying? Number 2, I would say maybe Coach Luke.
Yeah.
Coach Luke, probably number 2.
5 years, 66% winning.
66% win percentage. Coach Luke is number 2.
Mutual parting of the ways.
Mutual, right. And then I would say Coach Jackson leaving Grambling.
Yeah. That's a good. I think Coach Crary was probably the biggest because FAMU.
Yeah, because everybody's following that storyline.
Yeah. But it was no surprise.
I knew he was going to go somewhere. Now where, I don't know. But I knew it was a great chance he was going somewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Coach Jackson leaving.
No, that was shocking to me.
And it's like the dominoes. Did y'all line this up? Like, you know what I mean? Like Coach Crary slid right in. Coach Jackson leave. Coach Crary slid right in.
Yeah.
Like, what would have happened if Coach Jackson didn't leave? Would Prairie have went to AMU? Like, I wonder how that. And Coach Jackson like, nah. you popping in the SWAC, you know what I'm saying? But I get that AAU job. Come do your time at Grambling, then you get that. Because I'm like, did y'all sync this up? Like,
the CIAA was crazy, the SWAC was crazy, and the SIAC saw everything going on and said, hold on.
It all started with Coach Hughley. Alabama A&M started it all with Coach Hughley.
Yeah, it was like dominoes.
Yeah.
And then it comes back around. So that's your HBCU coaching update and reaction here on HBCU Game Day. I'm Tolly Carr. Let us know what you think in the comments if you're watching this online. I'm sure you're already there typing away. There's a lot of new faces or old faces in new places. It'll be a pretty exciting 2025-2026 HBCU basketball season. For Simone Stanley, I'm TC. We'll see you guys next time around.